one word that means something for the Z can mean the same for the Y, can mean the same for the X, and I can't tell you that everyone knows all of them quite yet. I think our quarterbacks have a pretty good beat on it. So we just started really here, and starting next week, we really start just massaging all the language to make sure we're creating a whole new plays that the offense doesn't even know. They were just running what they're hearing, and we've run those things a ton one way, and now we can switch to the pitcher, run the same thing again, and everyone will hear the words and do it. The defense thinks it's a whole new play, and our guys are just running the same thing they've been running. They don't even know that it's different sometimes because they're just listening for their words, and that's the key to this offense. I think that's why it's super flexible. You see it work with a lot of different personnels, and but you got to get to the point where everyone learns it. And they've been studying hard. It's been fun to watch these guys work.
One of the things that Kirk Ferentz just mentioned about seeing the improvement in the offensive line, his work was tempo. And obviously linemen are usually sort of the choke point on tempo for offenses. Yeah. Does that sort of indicate that Iowa's offense in and of itself is going to be more up-tempo this season?
I don't know what our metrics were last year, as far as I can tell you in this offense, we are going to huddle, not all the time, but most of the time. And I can tell you from being in the NFL, the difference between the good offenses and the great ones is you get to take a breath when they're in the huddle, but the moment the huddle breaks, play starts. So they're coming to the line, we're shifting, shift, motion, snap, and my favorite story with that is we played the Chiefs. I mean, when they break the huddle, it's like playing Oregon. I mean, they're coming. They're coming to the line, the shift, bump, motion, bam, snap, and then you take a breath because they go in the huddle for a minute, and you can take a breath. So although, you are in the huddle, so therefore you're not going to run 90 plays a game, there's still a tempo element to once you get to the line of scrimmage, especially when you're disguising things and moving, changing, shifting. So I think that's what he's talking about. We're really working on that. We got a play clock out here every single day so they can figure out how fast we get out of the huddle. It tells me how much I can do when we get to the line of scrimmage to disguise things, so we can make sure we get it in our final formation. But obviously, you rarely want to line up in your final formation. You want to, we'll show them one thing or maybe two or three and then snap the ball and go to work.
Thanks.
I know you've been asked this, I'm sure, a couple of times today. Just with the quarterbacks that you have, what do you like from the two main guys, and what have you seen so far?
Yeah, it's been fun. I mean, Cade's it's been fun watching him, battle through getting back to playing football. I've done it. Everyone's done it, and he's had some really good days where he's confident early on. He was a little shaky in the pocket. He's calmed down. Now he's moving in the pocket really well, like he's done for years and years and years now. Sully played football last year. He does a really good job in the pocket, but he's learning the brand. He didn't get to be around here in the spring like Cade did. So it's been fun to watch both. They're both playing at a pretty high level right now. And it's fun for me to figure out what they can do. Like we ran a play the other day that we ran in the spring, but Cade threw it a little bit late, and it was his first time ever running it. It was rep one for him, and not rep one for our offense yet, but it was rep one for Cade, and everything for Sully's rep one. So the more reps we can get, we've really challenged him in walkthroughs. We're trying to get as many reps as we can, because muscle memory is a real thing. And to watch them continue to get better every single time they do something, they're committed to it, and it's been fun to watch them battle.
A misconception I had is new offense, modern, does that mean 5 wide, a lot of passing? That's not true. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it is establishing the run, ETR with you. Can you tell me what gives you confidence that this team, this running back group can establish the run well, and what that kind of leads to in your offense? Like, why is it so important to do that?
Yeah, I think in every offense, even some of the spread offenses you see, I think like the old school Baylor spread stuff, they ran power better than anybody, and if you didn't stop the power, you were in trouble, and if you did stop the power, they're going to throw it to those people out there they were long and fast receivers, So I really think most offenses start with the run game, right? Other than maybe Mike Leach's offense, But other than that, I think it all goes through running the ball. And so, these guys, they've had some success in the running game when you look at the numbers of what they were able to do. We're definitely running a little differently. Some of the plays are exactly the same. There's plenty of new ones. But once you get the run game going, then everything changes because defenses have to change. Once they change, your explosiveness changes. And but this whole offense is about we're going to run the ball, and then everything comes off of it. Like I talked about Green Bay earlier, and what I saw happen as soon as Aaron Jones came back last year, it was a totally different offense when he was out there, and we got the run game going because it helped Jordan, it helped our young receivers, our young tight ends, and really things took off.
What's kind of the percentage breakdown maybe when you're running zone versus maybe power or gap?
It's a good question. I would definitely say overall run pass, I'm very simple 50-50. You try to be 50-50. I mean, there's games, I've called 70 runs in a game, I've called 70 passes in a game. So it depends on who you're playing, right?
Right.
But I would say that probably more zone than gap. I'd probably like 60-40, maybe 65-35. I don't really know, because we're definitely, I would say more zone because it sets up play pass better. It sets up the boot better. So I'd say you definitely lead towards zone, but there's still gap in there, depending on what they're doing on defense. So, but run to pass, you'd like to be 50-50. But if you have a feel for the game, that's one of the reasons I like to be in the booth.
Yeah.
Once you feel what's working, you got to lean on it. You can't wait till the next game to try to start to call what's working. So I think the goal is always 50-50 run pass. In this offense, we're definitely more zone than gap.
Over the last 4 or 5 years, even here, there's been a major jump in difference when there's, say, jet sweep motion versus non-jet sweep as far as yards per carry. Maybe 5 versus 3, 3.2. What does that do as far as like adjusting to second level or third level of the defense when you've got that much motion?
It does everything, right? I mean, defense is about eye control, and if they have great eye control, then they're probably going to stop most runs. They're gapped out. They're great coaches, especially here, and so they're going to fill the gaps. The question is, if you change their gaps 2 or 3 times before the snap, then you're really trying to get them to misfit, and train their eyes and be able to hand a jet sweep, be able to throw it on the perimeter, be able to run the ball. And if the guy doesn't get the perfect key, then you end up opening up some big runs, So that's the keys. When they can pin their ears back and they're solo gap football, and I'm a linebacker and I got the B gap and you run the ball and I blow the B gap, you're in trouble. But if we make sure that guy thinks he has the backside A gap, and then with the motion he gets the front side B gap, and then we bring a tight end backwards, now he's back to the backside A gap. 2, 3, 4 times before the snap, it definitely ups your chances, right? But you're still running the same play. But your linemen have to get comfortable with their spots moving. That was one of the first conversations I had with them, was that they're going to be moving, and you're going to have to get comfortable with that, because when you don't do it a lot, they get really uncomfortable when they start moving, And so we did not hold back in the spring. We were moving probably more than we probably ever have, or probably will, just to teach them that, because that's a skill that people don't really, some don't have, And I think someone told me a stat. I don't know the exact stat. You probably would know better than me. Of pre-snap motion, I think we were like 6% or like last in the country. We didn't move much, so I knew that was something we had to break through that barrier. And I would 100% tell you we've done it enough, because I've been over motioning and shifting. just I guess that's the word. And then I think it was last week we had a couple of plays that we did motion, and Phil was like, "What's going on? Like you didn't do anything." I was like, "Yeah, we're actually going to do that sometimes, but we have to train these guys, And they've loved it, and they've accepted it, and they're starting to see it more and more, so they're getting comfortable with it.
It seems like that sometimes compensates for the lack of cut blocking that you can't do on the line of scrimmage anymore, because they're calling it even when it's right. And so does this kind of allow for that, just allow your lineman to really get to that vertical, get out in the second level.
Yeah, because you got to get to the second level, right? And you got to take care of the first guys first. And there's very limited times you can cut anymore. It's a huge part of this offense if when we can get it done right. We can't do it in practice. We were talking about it in our meeting today, saying, in a game I'd like that guy to be cut, but we're not cutting our own players here.
Right.
So now it's more going to be educating them of when to do it and when. It's not too often anymore. But yes, any hesitation you can get, especially when there's communication between the linebackers and the D-line as things are changing, where he's screaming at the last minute and then he's thinking and the ball snapped, and if we're running off the ball, we got a shot, And so it's been fun. They're starting to see, how all the pieces fit together, and it's been fun.
Forgive me if this is a question that I don't know if this is something that you'd even think about, but last year against Big Ten teams at home, their Iowa offense only scored, I think, 9 touchdowns all year. Do you ever think about just being entertainers? We want to come out there and give the home fans a show. We want to give Hawkeye fans something to talk about in the off week.
No.
Okay.
I haven't thought of that. Really. This is a fun offense to run. I think our guys love running it. It is an aggressive offense. I want them to be aggressive, and we're going to be aggressive, and I think they enjoy that, and obviously if we're successful, the fans will love it. So I guess in the long run, yes, they'll love the fact if we're executing, if our technique's right. The biggest thing with our guys is just them understanding that the new offense is different. There's no question about that. But it still comes down to technique. My job is to try to make their job of executing a little bit easier. If I can get guys leaning, I can hopefully make their jobs a little bit easier. But if their technique isn't right, it still comes down to that. And so if we're doing those things, and we're being aggressive, and we're making them cover every blade of grass. That's our goal, is every blade of grass on that field, all the way across, all the way down. We got to make them cover it all and have plays that hit all the different areas. That's fun to watch.
How much scripting do you want to do? Or
What do you mean?
Your philosophy on
Opening script.
Yeah.
Oh,
opening
yeah,
script. How much do you want to do, and what's your philosophy in that script? Are you trying to figure out, hey, I want to see what they're doing?
Good question. It's a really good question, because I've done a bunch. I've done 5 plays, I've done 10, I've done 20, I've done 30. You really just got to figure out what we're good at. I do like scripting. There's one year where I scripted plays in a sequence. And then I'd get off the sequence on third down, to make sure we got a good third down call and get right back into the sequence. So I've done it a bunch of different ways. We'll definitely have an opening script. You see so many teams in the NFL and in college, have a lot of success on that first drive, because they've worked on that so many times. I remember when I was the quarterback coach at Western Michigan, we would score in our top 20 plays, we called it. We'd score like 21 points every time. We'd score a ton. And I used to be up in the booth we should just run those again. We literally have scored 21 points in these 20 plays. We should just wrap it back and see
until they stop.
Let's roll with it, right? And so there's just so many ways to do it. But we're definitely going to have the beginning of the game scripted. We're going to have to get off. When we get off schedule, we got to get off that script. But it puts the guys at ease too, and there's going to be all kinds of adrenaline running, especially early on. So getting them comfortable with what the first play, what's the first. I'll go through with the quarterback. This is our first third and short. This is our first third and medium. This is our first third and long. It's the first call when we get to the 25. It's my first call at the 15. Just so he's more comfortable. I think you have a better chance to have success early in a game when they're comfortable with those plays.
I suppose, again, the guy that a lot of people are talking about this offseason is Reese. What's his progress been like over the last few months since he arrived on campus? What have you seen out of him?
Yeah, I feel like Reese has been working really hard, trying to be more consistent. He's incredibly talented, incredibly gifted, has a very strong leg, just trying to work on his consistency from day to day and week to week.
Seems like I heard that he came in with a little more actual football experience than Torrey did. Do you feel like you've seen that right away, that he's maybe not quite as raw as Torrey was when he came in?
Yeah, I think some of the differences are Torrey had never even been to the United States before, and Reese has been to the United States, has family in the United States, so at least he has some familiarity as he came in here.
Let's hear about how Drew Stevens has progressed in the offseason. Obviously didn't get a chance to play in the last couple of games, and of course got taken out of that Nebraska game late. What's his confidence like right now? I think Coach Ferentz said that he's a totally different player than he was in the past.
Yeah, I feel like Drew has made huge strides both personally and as a player, and I feel like he has had his best day today, which is good. I think he went 4 for 4 today, which is good for him, and some really good kicks, and a little bit of a challenging win today. But I feel like you're seeing a different ball strike, a different person, how he carries himself, how he goes about his business, much more mature person. So it's been fun to watch.
Any of these names that have emerged so far as a special teams guy that is emerging this year that is going to be a future either defensive or offensive star that these guys are going to see?
Honestly, I think there's a lot right now. I think we've got a really good deep pool of core players and gunners, some guys that are helping out on special teams and also making a move on offense or defense. I think some of the guys right now, Kyler Fisher's done a phenomenal job with us on special teams as a leader and as a core player. He's done that for years. But some of the other guys, maybe that you haven't heard, Zach Lutmer has done an excellent job. TJ Hall's, back from injury last year, is doing really, really well in camp right now in regards to special teams and on defense. I think those two are the guys that jump out right away. A guy like Jaden Montgomery, kind of unheralded a little bit. Carson Shire, go down the list. There's a whole bunch of guys right now that are playing really, really well.
Going back to the punting position, what is it about Australia and the punting? Like those hand in hand? Is there something going on down there? What is it?
Yeah, it's different. Their version of football is played with the foot, right? So it's different. They have more skill, more work at it from punting the ball than we do in America. We pass the ball with our hands. They pass the ball with their feet. So I think there's a lot of talent there. I think it's the cat's out of the bag at this point, but. Reese is the next guy in line that we felt good about, and not only just his ability, but also as a person and how he fits with our program. and I'm just excited to have him here.
You got to convince Kirk to let you take a trip down there. 2-week recruiting trip?
I've taken 2 trips
you?
to
Okay,
Australia, and it's not as glamorous as it sounds. It's 27 total hours one way, and it's one of those flights is 17 hours in one seat, so it's a little bit tough.
Business class though?
This year, yes. This year, no, it's premium economy is what it was this year. The first time was not. It was a middle seat in standard economy.
Reese told us about the recruiting story, how you guys were in like a coffee shop or something in Australia. Can you tell us more about how you recruited Reese and what he did to interest you and what you said to basically convince him to pack up his life and go to Iowa City?
Yeah, I think Torrey was definitely influential in that. Torrey had seen him, had worked with him, had trained with him once before, and he felt like he was an incredibly talented young man, felt like he would fit well here at Iowa. Torrey knows me. I know Torrey knows my personality, knows the personality of Iowa and Iowa football, and I feel like he was a big advocate for that. But as far as like his ability, I got a chance to go over there and watch him punt and see. I know the guys there that he trains with and how they go about their business. But getting a chance to go over there and see Reese and meet his family and just get comfortable with them, get comfortable with us, and us comfortable with them, I think was a big deal.
Any similarities with Caden Weegan in punt return duties to maybe some of your greats like Cooper or even Charlie?
Yeah, I think Weegan is capable of being as good as he wants to be. I think he needs to be a little bit more consistent how he fields the ball, and then also he's learning the game a little bit more. But he can run, right? He's low to the ground. He's explosive. He can hit the home run at any time. But he's done a really good job so far. And when Cooper went down, I don't think we missed a beat with Weegan stepping in. I know Cooper is a phenomenal player, and everyone loves him and wants him here. Feels great when he's on the field. But I think Caden Weegan is a very talented young man, and it's just been fun working with him and getting a chance to see how he's going to progress. I think there's more for him out there than just as a punt returner, as a receiver as well, and then also in coverage.
So who else is working punt return and kick return duties besides Caden, besides Caleb Johnson?
Yeah, so as far as punt returns, it's Caden Weegan, it's been Zach Lutmer, it's been TJ Hall, TJ Washington, new guys are KJ Parker and also Reese Vanderzee. Just some younger guys that we're working with right now.
Bring to the table. I mean, there's so much experience around this time. Do you feel like this is one of the more experienced, just veteran groups that you've coached here?
Oh, no question. The seniority is number one here this year. This senior class, and then you add Jennings Dunker into that group. Just a ton of respect for him or that group, and admiration what they've battled through, and to see them kind of coming out the other side of it makes you feel good. But yeah, just the consistency every day, the professionalism, the maturity. It's like high school. You get done with your sophomore year, and then kids start to realize kind of, hey, this is who I want to be, and this is exactly how I want to be. Unfortunately, some of these guys got thrown in the mix way before that phase, so they were trying to survive a little bit, and then so now we're seeing a little bit more direct eyes, direct vision. You're seeing some cohesion. We're definitely healthier. We have more game-ready guys. If you look back at 21, we probably had 3 game-ready guys starting and 2 others starting. 22, we had less because those seniors left, and then there was kind of a drop, and we had to go straight to redshirt freshmen. So we had guys starting, but were they game-ready? Probably not. And then last year we saw a spike in that, and you saw a little bit of spike in our play that way, and then even more the same way now. The room's more competitive, for sure. That was one thing that when I got here was, hey, what's the standard? Where are we at compared to that standard? How are we going to get to that standard? How are we going to get this room back to where KF wants it to be? And then you make a plan and devise a plan and get in lockstep with Tyler Barnes, and it starts with recruiting and making sure you get the right fit and the right type of guys, and then you start talking about building competition in a room, because that's something that we haven't had even the first 2 or 3 years. We finally got some guys that were game ready, but behind them there wasn't. So now it's a little different now. That's the biggest thing, the spike in the game ready guys, the number of game ready guys, and then also a spike in the competition behind them, because we're all human beings. If you got that starting spot and no one's nipping at your heels, there's a little bit of, you can get laxed a little bit, and I think that's going away quickly.
I think I've been meaning to ask this for a couple of years, and I've spaced it every time. When you're recruiting a guy or you get a guy to come into your room, what's more important? Is it the attitude they have about going about their business, or is it their fundamental technique-wise? Which is more important to base?
Attitude. Yeah, I think you can teach fundamentals. I think you can get a kid to drill and understand what you're doing. But if you don't get a guy that fits this program and that understands exactly what it's going to take to be successful here, I think. But that's the trick with recruiting, because you get caught into the recruiting rankings and stars and stuff like that. And I'm pretty stubborn, so I don't really get caught up in it. To me it's do you fit the program? Do you fit how we work here? I kind of tell recruits straight, this is the hardest place you're going to go. Give me a list of your schools. Okay, this is the hardest. Let's end it there. And if you want the hard way, you come here. And if you don't, then don't come here. And I'm good either way. But you got to know what you're getting into, because the pride in our locker room of how we work and how we do things is so high that we don't want to surprise kids. You don't want to sell kids on coming to Iowa. You want kids to want to come to Iowa and be a part of this.
Have you found it difficult to find those right type of guys? Again, with just all the distractions, whether it be valuations, which nobody really knows what the valuations are or anything at this point.
I think if you're stubborn enough, it actually makes it easier.
Okay.
There's two ways to look at it. You say, oh man, you can't, how are we going to find the right guys? To me, it's just they stick out like a sore thumb because of personality, high school program, are they used to winning, what's their competitive level, they're multi-sport kids. You start stacking those things up, then you can kind of see where 15, 20 years ago, it was a little bit harder because everyone had a little bit of it and you didn't know how much. You can really see right now, if you're willing to see through the recruiting clutter, and I don't mean that in a bad way,
nope, I get it.
But if you can see through it and keep an understanding and a purpose of making sure those kids fit your program, and not getting caught up in recruiting battles and things like that. And that's the hardest thing, but it's sometimes easy too.
It's a little bit of a speculation, but the other day some coworkers and I were talking about, assuming 3 of the captains are back doing captain stuff this year, who the 4th one might be. And I brought up a couple of offensive lineman names in there. Is there one offensive lineman that really stands out as maybe the leader of that group, or the guy that people look to as kind of the emotional or the mental leader among all of them?
Oh, man. I think the neat thing about that senior class right now is they all have leadership qualities, and partly because of their experiences and what they've worked through here, the adversity they've been through, and they kept their nose down. They didn't flinch when everyone else around them was flinching. So there's a number of guys in there that have those leadership qualities, or different styles of leadership. But as far as captains, I mean, I don't know. Like, I do know this. I have a hell of a lot of respect for all those older guys in the room, and if any of them are called on any time to lead, they're going to.
I was going to ask about Logan Jones, because I compare him when he was walking into his starting role, 2 years ago, to now. It seems like he's, not that he was ever shy, but it just seems like he's much more vocal, he's much more confident in his own abilities and his ability to lead. I don't know, going back from the transcript 2 years ago to now, so just kind of, how have you seen him grow and accept responsibility when he's been under fire by whoever it may be?
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. When you get midway through spring, you get flipped over to center, never snap the ball and say, hey, by the way, you got to start every game next year because we really don't have the depth behind you. And he's learning a new position, and it's center.
And you're overtaking Tyler Linderbaum.
Yeah, throw that in for good measure. But yeah, to see him go from year one to last year, and he dealt with some injuries, but you could see a spike in his maturity. His timing was better, his understanding of the game was better, and then now he's added on that communication piece and competitive piece, and it's not night and day, but it's pretty close.
Are there any guys, I could maybe examine the roster between last year and this year and get a better idea of this, but are there any guys this year that have made that switch from either defense to offense or one position to another that you've taken to the offensive line this year?
Not this year.
Okay.
Not this year. We're
enough experience, you didn't really need that?
I told Kelvin a couple years ago, hey, the goal is for me not to, because we took Tyler Linderbaum from defense, we took Logan Jones from defense. The goal is to recruit, retain, develop our room and build our room strong, not only for this year, but for years to come.
So this experience group, this has had to be the best experience you've had.
Oh, no question. Yeah, it's, as we were talking earlier, in 21 you had a couple seniors, and a couple guys that retired. After that, it was straight to redshirt freshmen. So they were starting, but they were the experience. So there wasn't much. So now it makes a difference, and that's what you always want. It's not much different than coaching high school football. When you have an experienced line and guys that have some age to them and some maturity, good things start to happen. Now the trick is getting this next group pushing and nipping their heels a little bit so you don't fall into that trap again. And I think we're doing a nice job of that too.
They have a brotherhood, a friendship, and when you have that type of chemistry, it's hard to try to walk away from stuff like that. So these guys want to stick it out, play together, and compete. And I think the fact that they're here makes us stronger as a unit, makes us better as a football team.
How have you seen Kamari really progress over the last 6 months? Seems like he's put on a pretty good, significant amount of weight. It seemed like he ran the ball really well in the spring. But where are you kind of assessing him right now?
Well, all the guys are improving. That's what you want to see. But if you're asking about Kamari specifically, I mean, he's put on a little bit of weight. To me, everybody that we recruit can run the football. Otherwise we wouldn't recruit him. But what else can you do? So for him, I think he's becoming a solid pass protector. And more importantly, he's able to catch the ball out of the backfield, something he needed to work on, in my opinion, coming out of high school. And I think he's done that. And the more you can be able to be used outside of the backfield, whether it's catching the ball, it makes you more valuable as a football player, and it makes us more effective as an offense.
So with this new offense, with Tim Lester, has that changed the way that you have to instruct these guys, teach them, grow them? Like, are there roles different in any way in a Tim Lester offense than they were last year?
I wouldn't say their roles are different. I think the running back role is pretty much the same in any offense. One, we have to run the football. We have to be able to protect the quarterback, and we have to be able to catch the ball when it's thrown to us. Now, our responsibilities and how we go about that change depending on the offense. But as far as our key ingredients, running, blocking, and catching, that hasn't changed much. So for them, it's really about understanding the offense, where they fit in, where do they need to be, who do I need to block when it comes to pass protection, what type of route do I need to run in this particular play. Those are the little nuances that they have to learn right now. Yep.
Has the adjustment been pretty smooth as far as the new offense so far with your guys?
I think so. We had the privilege of going through this in the spring, and then we've done what we call, little skills and drills type activities where the guys have gotten together on their own and done things. So this isn't our first time running the offense. It's kind of like our second or third time kind of going through it. So now it's really more about fine tuning more than it is learning. I think the learning process really came more so in the spring. That's when you first introduced to it. So you see a lot of mistakes. Guys flying around don't quite know where they fit. And now they're starting to see the pictures and understand where they fit. So now it's cleaning up the little details. So it's coming along.
He came. It's just so happened he got here in December, January. So we got to get him through some. We was able to get him through some spring football. Obviously, he got a lot of work to do. He just got here. He was in high school last year, but he's off to a great start.
But Addy, obviously we've talked about him early in the summer, but kind of what have you seen from him this kind of first 8 or so practices, I think it is, of fall camp?
I think Addy is improving. Run blocking fundamentals are improving. His understanding of the system is improving. His leadership is improving. I think Addy's going to have a great year this year. He's working his butt off, and I think he's bringing some of the young guys along.
How much does it help when you've got him? Because obviously defenses are going to want to pay attention to Luke, but when you've got him kind of on the other side to maybe hold him a little more accountable?
Yeah, and obviously you get 2 guys that can really go offensively. You get 2 tight ends that can really play within this system, this pro-style system. I think it helps because you get guys that can block in the perimeter. You get guys that can be a focal point in the gap scheme, the front side of the gap scheme as well too. So I think having Addy, you look at the entire room, you got Luke Lachey, you got guys like Addison Estringa, you got Zach Oatworth, you got a guy like Hayden Large, Johnny Pascuzzi, I'll put in there because he's a guy that has gotten some experience last year, so we'll continue to push the room forward. I think we got about 5 to 6 guys that can actually go and that has a football experience. You throw Eli in there, he's got some experience as well too. So I think the room is really shaping up. My job is to develop those guys and how many guys you can get ready in the room, because whether Tim called 11 personnel, 12 personnel, or 13 personnel, we just want to be ready to go.
Do you get to take a little bit of a peek at your old position at all?
I'm always watching everything, but I got my hands full. I got 14 guys in the room that need my attention as well too. But me and Seth talks a lot. Me and Jay Higgins. I'm always watching. I'm a football guy, so I'm watching all 3 phases: offense, defense, and special teams. But I definitely playing the linebacker position. I'll take a peek over there and see what's going on. But Seth been doing a really great job with those guys. Really pleased with the job he's been doing. With Jay Higgins, guys like Jackson, and you look at some of the young guys coming through that program. Montgomery's been doing a great job for us. I think Seth's doing an excellent job for me and pushing that room forward.
With Nick Jackson, what kind of stands out to you about him?
His versatility. I think he's a guy that can play inside. He can play outside. When you look at his tape for Virginia, the guy was very, very instinctive, and that's one of the things that you want to look for as when you're watching that position. Does this guy naturally have a knack to find the football? And I think Nick does.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Boy, looking up and down that depth chart that you guys have in tight end, I mean, it's amazing just how many good tight ends you got in that room. I mean, how many future NFL players do you think you got on this roster? Seems like there's at least a few.
Hopefully all these guys get a chance. If you look at the last 20 years, I think all the tight ends that have started by their senior year have gotten opportunities to play at the highest level. Every year I ask guys, hey man, who wants to play at the highest level? Every single guy goes up. So my job is to get these guys ready. If you look at a guy like Steven Stylianos, no one would have thought Steve Stylianos would sign a free agent contract, but right now he's in camp with the Tennessee Titans. So that's inspiring for a lot of guys in the room, because he wasn't a guy that was a day one starter or had a ton of stats. And that's why I tell guys, just take advantage of the opportunity that you have. Whether you get 10 reps, whether you get 2 targets a game or no targets a game, just take advantage of the opportunity you have, and hopefully somebody's watching and you do a good job and they want you to join their team.
Does it ever make you think, boy, how did I get this lucky to have such an embarrassment of riches that I'm kind of at tight end U, the premier program in college football pretty much for tight ends?
You just never know how things are going to work out, man. And I just thank God that I'm back at a place that I really care about this place. I care about the staff. I care about and love Coach Ferentz, and he gave me an opportunity to come back. But that comes with a huge responsibility. It comes with a standard. The standard is already set by guys in the room, by Noah Fant, guys like T.J. Hockenson, guys like Sam Laporta, going back to guys like Jonathan Hayes. So my job is to continue to raise the bar, push this thing forward, and get these guys ready to go.
Are you working more this year with Hayden Large? Are we going to see him a lot more at tight end? Last year was primarily fullback. I forget if he caught maybe one pass all year, but is he going to be a little bit more of a pass catcher this year?
I think this offense is really good for Large. I think the run game and a lot of things that he can do. We got him back at the FY tight end position because I think he naturally does some things in the run game that really helps us. So he'll have a role on special teams. I think right now he's on the field goal block. We got him on punt, so he'll continue to work and try to see where he can add value. But he's a guy that's going to do everything we tell him to do, and I'm glad we got him.